We're on.
Okay, so this is our Zoom meeting on November 8th. I forgot the date, sorry. But about basically leadership and the powers. So we're supposed to be highlighting our power style, or the style we've seen at work, as both a leader and a follower. I'm first going to talk about as being a leader. I often use reward power to motivate employees to let them leave early, take a day off, be in a position that they want. This is very similar to Jessica's example from, I think it was last week or the week before, about being flexible with employees, but also like, hey, you can get this day off if kind of performance-based. I also think expert power is based on the person, is something that I am seen as a lot as a leader. I'm a coffee master, and I'm also a mentor at work a lot, because I'm a supervisor, which is based on the role, but also because a lot of people just don't know any information, basic information, and they have to rely on me to know very simple things like date dotting things or a range of knowledge that they should know but don't. I have knowledge of employees, customers, product information, how to handle things. And then I would say as a follower, I would not respond well to legitimate power. One time, we had a very new manager who was at my store. She was a temporary assignment manager, and she just didn't really know what she was doing and didn't have a lot of knowledge on the store, employees, or even some Starbucks standards, which I had a hard time respecting just because she had the position. I didn't really respect her and the power position. Yeah. So I respect / admire people more based on themselves rather than the position they hold. And then I do, as a follower, am motivated by reward and referent power, which the referent power is the role model power. And yeah.
Thanks, Adriana. I recognize a lot of what you were talking about, especially when the discussion in the text was talking about power distance. I thought right away, like in our culture, you know, where we have like a low power distance, the idea of, you know, legitimate power, just doing what someone says because they said to do it, I think is a lot less meaningful than it might be in other cultures where there's, you know, that high power distance and people just are respected because of their position. I know that as a follower, I think like early in the process, you know, I was strongly motivated by like coercive and reward power, you know, as we talked about, like getting away from stuff that would get me in trouble as a young person, you know, getting away from getting grounded or, you know, anything like that, getting grades that I wanted to get, you know, earning those kind of things. Bonuses, incentives became important. I think that as my career has developed, when I moved into a real professional sector, the stuff that I started to read that was, you know, more additional information to more of those classic terms was when they talked about like information power and the expert power, but even leading into that information power, because you know, I think like Adriana talked about, like knowing what you're doing and you know, having that skill set and a thing. I mean, that's talked about all along. We talk about, you know, how important that is in groups, you know, having competency and everything. But in my job, like knowing stuff, when I find people like, who do I call for this? How do I get a hold of this? Where do I find the information? You know, what department do I need to go to? Like information power becomes golden, you know, and that's why, you know, I think, you know, people, you know, become important again for you know, what they know or how they know how to get a hold of that information. Again, like in that power structure we talked about, like where who you know, like you said, that idea of like who you know, well, that might be important to an extent because of the information that those people have. But that's about all I got. Thanks.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds really like interesting to hear the different types of power from like a different kind of job. A lot of kind of like what I was saying relates to kind of what like Adriana was saying about like Starbucks and whatnot. I was kind of like going through the different powers and trying to see like, where do I see these take place like at my work. And for like the reward power, like the first thing I thought of was just like, oh, if we like include customers in this, like we have like our star system, like the reward system, like you buy enough drinks and then you get like a free drink. it also kind of has to do with like what you were saying about just like, oh, you can have like an extra mark out this day or an extra day off to try and like motivate like more people. For legitimate power, I felt this kind of when I was like promoted to like a supervisor, because it's like I had the title, but it took me a while to really like feel like I owned that role. And so there's like people that probably like, oh, she's a supervisor, she must like know all this stuff. But I was like, I have the title, but it was a little like imposter syndrome of like, I need to like have the expert power and like the information that like goes with it. Because I feel like people can have titles, but if they don't have like that other stuff that like backs them up on that, then there isn't a lot to go off of it. I feel like for expert power, it doesn't really have much to do with the title, because like anybody, either like barista, supervisor, or manager, can have like the knowledge about it. Like I know many baristas who have like never been in much of like a leadership role, but like they've worked at the company for like over 10 years, and so like they know a lot about like the coffee and the store, and so they're a good person to like go if you need some like coffee knowledge, but they don't have like any title that like goes along with it. For referent power, I feel like this is the one that like I value the most when I'm looking towards like leadership. And I'm happy to say that like I do see this power like in my manager, because she's been my manager for like a couple years now, and we've like gotten to know each other, and I feel that like she does have like, she's very like honest and like open with me, like for all the other powers except like coercive, I feel like she does have in like some aspect, and like she does like care about her team, and I feel like she's a pretty good like role model. And to note on the different cultures for their power, I feel like kind of Cheryl, what you were saying about just like power difference, that like different cultures value different like leaders and powers. Like here in the US, I feel like we want to see like those titles and those degrees and everything that like goes with it. But I feel like in other countries, they don't have to have like a certain title. Like if they have the knowledge and like the expert that goes with it, then people will give them like that power.
Thanks.
Thank you, Courtney. To kind of piggyback on what Adriana was saying earlier, I do talk about like the whole reward power a lot, you know, with my experience with customer service, because I really feel when it comes to sales, we really need to have that incentive for the employees to want to do something. So whether that be they're getting a weekend off, or they're getting compensation for it because it's their sales they're making. So I have a lot of experience, and I do believe the reward power is useful in those types of situations. Another power that I have a lot of experience with is legitimate power, and that's just because, you know, working in a public school district, we have, you know, our superintendents, and then our directors, and basically what the decision is made is that's their decision that's made. And, you know, we deal with a lot of the community with the police officers and everything, and we got to follow those rules. The states give us rules, and there's no way around it. We can't negotiate with the state if there's a law with it. So I do experience a lot of that, but fortunately, I am definitely working with a referent type of power with my current boss, where yes, she does hold legitimate power, because if she says I can't have the day off, then I can't have the day off. That's because she rules it. But she does really care about the team, and she wants us to be successful, and ensures that we know that if we need anything, she's there to support us. Going with the culture part, I mean, we have to say right now, we just went through a history in the making this past week where the glass ceiling broke. Kamala Harris is now the elected VP, first girl to run in the White House, which is huge for women right now. I can honestly say that when she was doing her speech, it was empowering to me that this is a step forward, that this is something we don't see in the United States. Is, we're known to be, land of the free. However, there's still that power distance with women of not getting that chance. I'm hoping that what we saw with the election, that we will maybe see a woman as president one day, and that other women are empowered to make these big moves and know that there shouldn't be discriminatory just because we're female. That anyone can be a president, anyone can be a VP or governor, whatever the case may be. So I think that one's a big one for me right now, the whole masculinity and femininity. President doesn't have to be a male. It doesn't have to be VP doesn't have to be a male. So I think one of those things is the biggest thing with cultural difference. And I'm glad we're, as a country, making that step forward to changing that.
Leslie, you're muted.
Sorry.
That's okay. I just want to hear from you. We have about a minute left.
Okay, I'll try and talk fast. So the first type of leadership that I experienced in my current organization was coercive, which was very bad. Or I see that now, but going into it, it was kind of normalized there, being that the leader, that just was the way that she was. It was a very hostile and negative environment. She tended to use a lot of threats and kind of dangle promotions and raises and those kind of things over us, which in turn kind of turned us against each other as a team. We kind of worked against each other instead of together because of the leadership that we were getting from her. So definitely something that I see now as very negative, and I don't respond well now because of that. And it always comes back like, oh, I remember those things. My supervisor now, our unit now, I guess, is very into power sharing. So just because she's the supervisor, she's the leader, a lot of the decisions are made as a group. And we all have our kind of certain expertise. So she lets us lead with that. So if we're working on a project and one of us is better or has more knowledge on a certain thing, she really lets us make decisions because of that. Did I run out of time?